America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning. If you're just joining us, you're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning. We're joined by Mike Walters and some friends. We just went in our first segment through a number of issues surrounding Benghazi and the dereliction of duty related to the August 6th, 2011 fatal helicopter crash that killed a number of our SEALs on SEAL Team 6 and a number of National Guardsmen. These were all Spec Ops guys. And I got to tell you, the testimony of those parents, it's a 3-hour press conference. And I'm going to tell you, I don't care what else you do. I don't care what else you put on hold. I don't care if you go to bed late that night and you're going to be tired in the morning. You have an obligation to listen to that entire thing from beginning to end. Because these parents raise questions about who knew what and when and where, why our men were sent into an ambush, very plainly an ambush, why they allowed a Muslim cleric to curse our men on the ramp at their funerals. I mean, this idea of political correctness run amok in our nation, and this willingness to keep the war machine moving for power, to create a phantasm enemy that can be used to constantly keep us in a state of war, is unforgivable. It's unimaginable that this is the policy of our nation. It's unimaginable and inconceivable that this is in the best interest of the United States of America. We have to question why, and we have to force ourselves out of this position we're in. We have to leave these foreign nations. We serve no purpose there other than squandering our treasure. And when I say treasure, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about the lives of our young men and women who are serving there.
Mike, I got a question. You know, the Soviets were in Afghanistan for, I think, 10 years. Mm-hmm. More than 10
More than
years.
10.
More
they
than
were
10
there
years.
almost 20.
All right. And they had no rules of engagement.
Not only had they no rules of engagement, they weren't there to win the hearts and minds, quote unquote, of the enemy.
So what is it that we thought that we could do? How did we think that we could impose our will upon that nation and accomplish what the might of the Soviet Union could not accomplish in the time period that they were there?
What's there?
Yeah.
Lithium, heroin, and a phantasm. The heroin flow keeps the dirty black money moving. The lithium is a critical component to batteries. And the phantasm keeps the phantom alive for all to fear. It allows this government to wage a war on terror that doesn't exist. The war on terror only exists because we perpetuate it. We perpetuate this war on terror because we want an enemy that we can all stand in unification and face.
An external
enemy.
External enemy.
So that we're not paying attention
to what's going
to
on.
The real enemy who's standing in our midst.
Under our noses.
That's the simple truth. That is the simple truth.
Drive the concentration of everything on the external so that, like a magician,
you're paying attention to the hand that's visible while ignoring the one that's not. And we're sacrificing the blood and the beauty and the brilliance and the gifts and the talents of our best and our brightest for that. It's shameful and it's appalling. I'm heartbroken that this seems to be the best that we can muster. That this seems to be the direction that our country is headed. It's hard to accept. Go ahead, caller.
The problem in Afghanistan is the same one we seem to keep having with everything we get involved with. We went in with the intentions of destroying the enemy and did a good job of it initially, and then promptly fell into nation building.
Yeah, but you see, the nation building is completely
bogus.
It's bogus. It's a fallacy, right? Because we're selling them something they don't want. We're selling them something that, truthfully, we don't even believe in or practice ourselves. If we practiced the same Republican democracy that we preach, we would actually not be. I mean, it's an irony, because we're violating the same principles that we're offering to sell, and it's plain and obvious on our face. They can see that we are liars. They can see that we don't actually practice what we preach. Our government was designed and built from the ground up to say that the rights of men are first and foremost the only priority of all attention, all focus.
The individual rights.
And that the government's sole reason for existence is to protect those rights. And they know that these nations which we have invaded imperialistically don't have that. They don't have that genetic makeup of liberty and freedom and human rights and the rights of individual men given to them by God and nature. They don't believe that. And it's so vastly impossible for them to conceive that no matter how good our sales pitch, they'll never accept it. They don't want it. And yet we force it down their throats. A bunch of men in suits who send our brilliance and our national treasure, while they themselves sit there and pander and lie and cheat. And I'm telling you, it is just, it's so infuriating to me that these men who believe that they have the answer, they have the right to eat out our substance by squandering it in this manner for whatever petty value that they can gain in power and treasure on this earth. God help them. You want to know that if there's a special place in the afterlife, whatever you want to conceive, whatever you believe in, that men of Machiavellian evil go to. Let me tell you something. Those rooms are bursting. Those rooms are bursting with this. I'm telling you, our nation has descended into such fallacy, misdirection, such a wrong path that it is inconceivable to me that the American government and the American people themselves will not rise up and overturn this.
And have you noticed, Mike, about all of the news media focus on Syria and whether or not they use chemical weapons and this and that and something else, and
it's all meant
smoke and mirrors.
It's all meant to keep you misdirected. It's all meant to keep you questioning. And when you question, you say, "I guess I got to let somebody above my pay grade answer this question." And here's the problem: most Americans are. I mean, look, you go out there and poll them on the street. Half of them might vaguely know we're there, but they can't express to you why. And if our nation isn't behind the effort, why are we in it?
And to what purpose?
There is no purpose.
This whole nation building thing to me is like, since when did nation building become a critical function of the federal government of the United States?
It's not. Never has been.
Find it in our Constitution. I'll give you $1 million cash.
But it is a democratic, liberal leaning sort of thing. That's what they seem to want to enter into.
But that's not really. You see.
Oh, I agree. It's not part of what we're supposed to be.
They can't justify it because it does not. There's no legitimate, rational, logical, well-reasoned excuse for its existence as a policy.
As you said earlier, most of our earlier thought on this subject was like the Monroe Doctrine, to avoid
entanglements. Yeah. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. You know, I tell you, I'm appalled. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mike. The next one to watch is Africa. The French are already over there. Some other people's there. And we was just going to be sending some advisors. And I just heard the other day we sent 1,100 troops over there. That's the one that's building right now. They're going to send them all over there to Africa. They say they're chasing Al-Qaeda, but I suspect oil fields or something like that, you know.
Yeah. You're right.
When this war machine starts, it don't want to stop. You know, that's how the big shots make their rank.
Listen, let me tell you something. We got to take a break, but I'm going to tell you something. This war machine will never stop. It's been running since the early 1900s, and it's going to continue until we as a people decide to make it stop. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to America's Voice Now.
We believe the better the ingredients, the better the taste to bring to you the greatest tasting pastries possible. At Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, we use organic, locally sourced, and natural ingredients of the highest quality. Every item is handcrafted and baked fresh for you each and every day. Visit Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade on the Courthouse Square in downtown West Plains. Or call ahead 255-2253. Be sure to like and follow Chantilly's Artisan Bakery on Facebook.
The area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry. Top-of-the-line handguns from Kimber, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Glock, Beretta, and many more. A wide selection of ammunition including blanks, centerfire handgun and rifle, rimfire, a variety of shotgun shells, target, and turkey. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
I'm sorry, we're back. You were saying we were what now?
Well, we're supposed to be engaged in this war against radical Islam, which is not just a religion. It is an entire way of life that a small group of people who are locked into the 6th century want to
perpetrate on the rest of us.
Want to perpetrate on the remainder of the world.
You see, the simple solution to this is very simple. It's so simple. It's too simple for these politicians to follow because it eliminates their reason for being. And here's what it is: America, leave them alone. Let them kill each other. Let them kill themselves. Let them do whatever they've been doing for the last 10,000 years. But get the hell out of there.
And
come home to our own nation. Let's work on, and resolve on those issues that are truly ours. And I'm telling you right now, seal our borders. And this is not a question of being isolationist. This is not isolationism. This is individualism. We don't have to stop doing business and trade with the world.
We don't have to stop immigration.
We don't even have to stop immigration. In fact, if we stop burning our financial treasure on foreign nations that don't want us there and hate us for what we do for them, then we would have the money to build a proper immigration system. But instead, we're sitting here abandoning the principles of our own manifest destiny as a nation, and saying that we're going to export that to others who don't understand the principles, the concept, the value of it,
or have the background to,
they don't have any educational understanding of it. Liberty and American exceptionalism and freedom, these are things which are genetically inherent in us. And I say that not because we have some high moral ground or that we have that we're better than them genetically. And I don't mean genetically in a medical sense. I mean that the American people have been, since the 1600s, infused with the idea, not enthused, infused with the idea that the rights of men supersede all. Nowhere else on the planet does that principle exist. Nowhere. Nowhere else is a government ever been founded in all known history that put the rights of man and their natural and inherent right to life, liberty, possession of their property, the possession and the benefit of their work, and their right to pursue their lives and their pursuit in whatever their pursuit of happiness may be. Nowhere else has that ever existed in all known history. And with all due respect, I suspect it will never exist again. Never like it has here.
But the thought that we can export that to another culture is faulty.
Of course it's faulty. You can't take something that took us hundreds of years to learn and expect a bunch of folks to pick it up and run with the ball and say, yeah, this is the greatest thing since canned peas and sliced bread, when their whole existence for 10,000 years has been diametrically opposed to that. I mean, they're not going to see the light, folks. They don't want to see the light. They're ingrained, and their makeup, their genetic makeup, their political genetic makeup, their philosophical genetic makeup, their intellectual genetic makeup speaks otherwise. They don't want it. They don't believe it. Why try to encourage them to accept something? I mean, look, if you walk in and you have a farm and you go in to buy a new truck because you've got a trailer that you've got to haul. It's a fifth wheel. This thing weighs 10,000 pounds, empty, and you are buying it because you need to be able to haul livestock to market. And the salesman says to you, but the perfect vehicle for you is this Volkswagen Beetle. And you say, I can't use a Volkswagen Beetle. I mean, I don't need it. It doesn't tow my trailer. It doesn't haul my cattle to market. I don't need it for transportation. I've already got a perfectly good Nissan Sentra that does exactly that. I need a vehicle for my business, and I've got to have it to do the following job. And you outline that job with 5 bullet points. And the salesman says, no, you have to buy this Volkswagen Beetle. I mean, how long would you tolerate that? You would say, well, if that's the only thing you're willing to sell me, if that's the only thing that you can provide for me, I've got to go elsewhere. And just like that scenario of not understanding what you're trying to accomplish. We cannot get these folks to understand what we're trying to accomplish. It doesn't fit their model. It doesn't fit their mold. It doesn't fit their lifestyle. It doesn't fit their religious perceptions. It doesn't fit anything about their makeup.
Nor should we expect it to.
Well, the simple truth is that if we're not willing to understand and accept the realities of what they are, then how can we possibly ever really achieve our real true goal, which is to say to them, let us help you.
Or at least leave us alone.
I mean, if our manifest destiny says that not only are we to, rise to great heights within ourselves and within our own capabilities, but that we should attempt to encourage others to do the same, then we have to look at their makeup and understand where they're coming from in a real and rational way in order to effectively complete the mission. You don't complete the mission by not understanding. I mean, you wouldn't send a military guy out there to fight an enemy, and you wouldn't send him out there in a parka with heavy winter gear and a broomstick to fight in a desert. Why? Because it's the wrong equipment. It's the wrong gear. And we're there with the wrong equipment, the wrong gear, and the wrong mentality. And we're doing it, we're replicating the same mistake over and over and over and over again. The world over.
Now, is it stupidity or is it arrogance?
It's neither stupidity nor arrogance. It's an excuse. It's an excuse to keep the phantom alive. And that's the real truth of this.
So we're back to misdirection.
They need an external enemy to keep us focused upon. They need a methodology to keep the money flow going. And you can't keep the money going if you don't constantly have a war. The military-industrial complex, and I hate to use that phrase because it sounds like you're an old 60s radical or something.
Harry Truman.
But the military-industrial complex in this country owns the government by sheer force of lobbying and bribery. These men and women are beholden to them for the money which they've accepted and the favors which they've accepted and the secrets which are within the minds of those who have compromised them.
Was it Eisenhower or Truman that first came up with that phrase?
I believe it was Truman, but you can't quote me on it. I don't really remember. What I do know is this. He accurately described the situation that we're in. And, the problem is that we are never going to understand or be willing to, let me rephrase that, because we do understand. Our government knows exactly what we're doing wrong. They just refuse to change the policy. Because to change the policy means that we lose this militaristic mentality that we've got. And they're counting on that because they need that to subjugate you.
We should throw out a challenge to the Congress and the Senate to keep us out of unnecessary war for 25 years.
But, look, many presidents have gotten elected on a plank of keeping us out of the war. They did it in World War II, and they did it in World War I.
That's right.
Both.
FDR, months before,
promised, I will not allow this country to be dragged into war. And then no sooner did he get elected than the first thing he did was conspire to bring us into that war. It happened in World War I. It happened again in World War II. Read the accounts of what really transpired in Pearl Harbor. Make no mistake about it. We knew we were going to be attacked at Pearl Harbor weeks in advance. This is not a secret, folks. This is stuff that our government has released to us that has been unclassified. Did you know that I think it's about 70% of the fleet that was at Hawaii and stationed there left in advance, weeks in advance. They left a shadow of our true naval force at Pearl Harbor, the sacrificial lamb. This isn't me telling you this. This is military people who have since spoken out. We'll be back in just a moment.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The explosion in the Texas town of West, which left 15 people dead, has long been treated as an industrial accident, but now authorities have opened a criminal investigation. The announcement coming the same day as an arrest.
Bryce Reed, the EMT from the town of West, Texas, near Waco, is still in federal custody, charged with possessing destructive devices, possibly a pipe bomb. He was on duty the night the fertilizer plant exploded, but so far federal agents say they have no link between Reed and the explosion.
Fox Radio's Evan Brown. President in his weekly address calling on Congress to give more homeowners a chance to refinance their mortgages.
From the day I took office, I've made it a priority to help responsible homeowners.
The GOP talking about legislation that gives private sector workers the right to trade overtime pay for additional time off. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Visit our outstanding sponsors, West Plains Pawn, located on Route 160, about a mile past Walmart on the right-hand side. West Plains Pawn can be found on the web at westplainspawn.com. You can also reach them via telephone at 417-256-3000. The battery station at 303 Washington Avenue, right off the square in West Plains. They can be reached via telephone at 417-257-7799. They can also be found on the web at batterystation.com. My friends at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. Brian can be reached at 870-492-4030, and he's located at 3225 Route 62, 1/2 mile east of Walmart in Mountain Home. Make sure that you visit our friends over at Pizza Hut on Porter Wagoner Boulevard in West Plains. They have an outstanding lunch special buffet. You can have salad as well as pizza and other pasta, so you can have something tasty and something healthy. Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 2930116. Bill Stone does remodeling, custom and new construction, light commercial, farm work, pretty much the gamut. If you're interested in doing some kind of a new project, make sure that you give Bill Stone at Stone Construction an opportunity to bid on that job. And my dear friend, Mary, over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade, right off the square in West Plains. She can be reached via telephone at 255-2253. She's got the best damn bakery in 100 miles. And thanks so much to our phone line sponsor, Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop. You can call us on the Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline. He is on the square in West Plains. Excellent opportunity for you to get your hair cut. Get over there and visit.
Coast to Coast AM brings the Ozarks a whole new feel for radio. Midnight to 6 a.m. every night here on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point. Where else would you get callers talking about everything from UFOs to war trends? From mental energy to anomalies, and from lost knowledge to aliens. Listen to experts and researchers who are part of the guest list every night here on the Ozarks Best News Talk. Don't miss Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, midnight to 6 a.m. every night here on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point.
Weather sponsorships are now available on News Talk 107.1 The Point. Get more information, email info@diamondmediaradio.com for complete details.
From the Point Weather Center, as we kick off the weekend, it'll be mostly sunny with a chance of late afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Our high 71. There's a chance of showers and storms into the evening. Overnight, a low around 40. Sunday should be sunny with a high of 65. Monday will start the week with sunshine and a high near 70. I'm Rod Tanner, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
Hi, it's Hugh Hewitt on the next Hugh Hewitt Show. The next governor of Virginia, Ken Cuccinelli. The current senator from South Dakota, John Thune. I'll also be joined by Bill Kristol, and we'll talk with all of them about immigration reform and what is ahead in the United States Senate, and Marco Rubio. Don't miss any minute of the next Hugh Hewitt Show.
Sundays from 6 till 7, following Money Talk with Bob Brinker, it's the Weekend Journal with Hugh Hewitt on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Okay, we return. I want to spend a minute or two, and I think it's important that I help you guys understand the importance of what our sponsors do for this program. You know, they keep this show alive, and I want you to make sure that you're working with them, visiting them, patronizing their establishments, because if it wasn't for them, the show wouldn't exist. And I get lots of emails and I get lots of Facebook comments. Mike, keep up the great work. You're the voice of reason and blah, 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 all these different, whatevers. But I got to tell you something. If it wasn't for folks like these who sponsor this program, it wouldn't exist. And, I think that it's time that our listenership, went out of their way to support these folks. Because, honestly, I don't care where you're doing business. The other day, I had to go out and get some things for Mother's Day. And, the natural inclination is to go to the place where you can get it all done in one fell swoop, right? You just want to, you got to get in, you're short on time. I was. But I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Even though I knew I had an hour to accomplish what I had to accomplish, I went out to a number of different little places, small vendors, instead of going to a giant where I knew I could, pretty much cover the basics. And I went from location to location to location to location. And I did it piecemeal. Because I want to know that at the end of the day, what I'm doing for my community is just as important as what my community is doing for me. In other words, I got to practice what I preach, or I'm a hypocrite. And so, and not because I feel like I got to do it so I can't be labeled a hypocrite. My goal was simply to make sure that I'm redistributing what I need to do to my local community, because that money resounds locally in the community over and over and over and over and over and over and over, somewhere between 7 and 12 times. But when I spend my money with some big box store, it disappears permanently from my community. And if we're not willing to take care of our own first, our efforts are fraught with the whole concept of what we do is based on a fraudulent idea. So I sponsor and spend my money with people, not just because they sponsor my show. I'm telling you right now, I didn't shop at a single sponsor because that's not the kind of products that I was looking for that day. But what I do is make sure that I'm spending my money with people who I know are desperate to keep their business alive. Because that business employs people in my community. That business is employing the owner or the small business owner. And that's the guy who buys a truck from the local car dealer. And that's the guy who shops at another local store and spends that money I just gave him to buy something else. Or he buys office supplies in the community. And he doesn't spend his money at Staples. Because that money then is gone from the community forever. So let's make sure that we're not just, talking big, right? If we're going to talk the talk, then let's make sure that we're walking in the space which we've put out in front of ourselves. Let's make sure that we actually follow and accomplish that which we express that others should do. And you can vote with your wallet. You can vote with your wallet, not just your finger or your feet. It's a statement, but it's more than that. It's actually a bonding that builds this community. When we spend our money, and you know what? It might have cost me, 1%, maybe 1.5%, maybe 2% more than if I'd gone to some, big box store to accomplish my task. And it took me more time. But I got to tell you something. it was worth it. It was worth it. It was worth it because I know that I accomplished my task while simultaneously helping a local business or community accomplish their task. Not helping some guy in a foreign state somewhere who's sitting there with a calculator counting up his register receipts for the day from his 72 locations. You know, we have a group of sponsors that, and you know who they are. Our friends over at the battery station right on Washington Avenue. You know, I go in there and I shop all the time.
Boy, they got a lot of good stuff too. I'm not just batteries. They got all sorts of stuff, man.
I know. I mean, I go in there all the time, and I you know, sometimes I can find it on the internet or something along those lines, or I could find it in another store. But I go to Kevin because he's a friend of mine, number one, and number two, I want to make sure that I'm doing my part to participate in our community. I've never seen anybody who puts forth as much effort towards achieving the goals of the things that we set out as our basic principles than him. And I'm telling you right now, there's very few people I can say that I've seen. This is a guy who donates his time, his money, his efforts for the benefit of all of us who are listeners. And, you know, that's worth something to me. I go over there and you know, he's got all kinds of, you know, stuff in there. I mean, that's a store that if you can't find something in that store you don't want,
oh man,
they
got more cool camping stuff and knickknacks and they have these little teeny lights that you can like plug into the socket in your car, so that, for instance, your wife will never be without a flashlight.
Yeah.
They just got more neat stuff in there.
I'll tell you, he's got these little waterproof boxes that you can get, you know, that you can take and float down the river. And, you know, he's got them on all these different sizes that'll handle everything up to, you know, your camera and your lunch, or, you know, your pack of cigarettes.
Adult beverages?
Adult beverages, too. But, well, I mean, these
gotta have those when you go on the river.
Yeah, but these are boxes that you can seal that are waterproof. So you can have your glasses and you know, you can have your camera with you and your cell phone and not worry about whether or not it's going to get wet.
Yeah.
These are waterproof, and they float, of course, right? And, you know, as opposed to, first of all, you won't be able to beat his price even if you go to a big box store, and you definitely will never find the kind of selection he's got on these silly little things. Now, I mean, you know, that may not mean much to you, but I'm gonna, and you may not even have a need for that, because maybe you say, well, I never go floating on the river. I'll tell you what, I keep one in my car, and I keep stuff in there, not just because it's waterproof, but just because the necessities of what I need. I keep a little flashlight in there, an extra Bic lighter, you know, just some little necessities, right, that I always know are all in one place.
I'll tell you what, for people, too, when you talk about, like, when the power goes out and that kind of stuff, they have some really good quality, nice lanterns, kerosene lanterns and that kind of stuff.
And LED flashlights that burn like 100 times what the old, you know, incandescent bulb
flashlights use like
burn.
No electricity.
But well, here's my point, guys. I'm just saying, you know, that when you're looking for something like that, when you need batteries, first of all, don't go over there to you know, Walmart or someplace like that and buy a bunch of Duracells. Go over there and buy them from him. One, the batteries he gets are better, if not equally on par with what you're going to buy somewhere else. But two, he's just cheap. I mean, let me tell you something. This guy sells more batteries than 10 Walmarts. Just because, you know, that's his business, right? I mean, he actually brings them in. So, you know, but you know, I'll tell you what. The thing that what strikes me about him is that I also know that every year for the past 10 years, they spend their own money to make around the holidays to make something worthwhile for our troops. They put these packages together that they send over, And I mean, we're talking literally thousands of dollars of their money they spend to put these gift packages together for our troops, and they do it around Christmas time. And they start this drive, and people come in, and they donate stuff, or money,
right,
and because to cover the shipping costs. He spends thousands of dollars of his own money on shipping, and he sends flashlights out of his inventory and batteries and shaving cream and
useful
wipes.
stuff. Yeah, useful stuff.
Wipes and stuff. I mean, these are guys that are going 5-6 weeks without a shower, pal. Baby wipes are in high demand, let me tell you.
Yo.
So,
yeah.
But my point is, he's a guy that gives back to the community in so many different ways, right? And he's not the only one. I'll give you the names of the rest of them when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. But, that's what this is about, people. We'll be right back.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry.
Online at westplainspawn.com.
Top of the line new and used optics from Nikon, Leopold, Burris, Redfield, Zeiss, and Schmidt & Bender. Ask about their selection of binoculars, laser sights, and night vision goggles. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West US Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com. Stop and save up to $50 with Napa Know-How. Receive up to a $50 rebate Visa card by mail with qualifying brake parts purchased when you upgrade to premium or better. Stop by and ask for details. Or how about a Napa Evercraft half-inch air impact wrench for just $37.99? Napa Know-How. Napa Auto Parts, 311 St. Louis Street in West Plains.
Napa Know-How. Napa Know-How. Napa Know-How. Napa Know-How.
Out of 365 days a year, we celebrate holidays, anniversaries, and other important days. But there is one day you look forward to, your birthday.
I wanna wish you a happy birthday.
Ryan's Steakhouse of West Plains is proud to bring you the Birthday Club weekday mornings with Cooper & Company. Our daily winner receives one buffet and a drink to Ryan's. Just call your birthdays in weekday mornings with Cooper & Company at 255-0427. Brought to you by Ryan's and the Ozark's Best News Talk.
And happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha-cha.
Hi, I'm Scott Corman, President of Community First. We want to be your bank. We believe in the strength of our communities, businesses, families, and future. We're not just locally owned, but community owned. And we operate today just as we started, by living up to our name, putting you and our communities first.
Living up to our name, community first, banking company.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hooah. My good friend Ed was nice enough to bring me some coffee today. I am eternally grateful to him. He is a good man. I don't care what his friends say about him.
That's his friend. And that's his friends.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Ed is a good friend in a ton of ways. Kevin has, I've talked before about this antidepressant medicine that like 40% of America is swallowing like jujubes. And I said that out loud. Now somebody will write me an email about saying something about the Jews. You have no idea how much crazy nonsense I get. No matter what I say, somebody's against it.
I thought jujubes were the little things you get in the movie theater.
They are.
Okay,
they are.
all right.
They're candy.
All right, it's not like the Maccabees.
You're just trying to give me cover.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like the Maccabees and the jujubes.
Okay. They were fighting.
Now I'm going to get letters from ministers who are going to say, "What do you mean the jujubes? There's no such thing. There's only Maccabees and Pharisees."
Okay.
And Sadducees.
Oh my God! All right, here we go. We're in trouble now. It was bound to happen before the end of the show.
I know it. For Louisville out there, I got to tell you, he sent me an email the other day. Says, I heard you mention religion in your show, and I don't believe in burning bushes and things like that. And yet, he's got a picture. His picture on YouTube is a flying saucer. I'm thinking, okay, but my response to him is, you know what? Everybody's got their belief system, and it's okay. First and foremost, you know what we all are? We're all Americans. And that supersedes religion. It supersedes ideology. It supersedes color, your language, your whatever class you're in. We are all Americans. And I promise you this, America, if we let this nation go down in flames, everything that you hold dear, your beliefs, your possessions, your ideology, all of it will evaporate like dust before the storm. That's the simple truth. And this is triage, folks. We are in a situation of national triage. We've come across the United States of America, and Uncle Sam is laying there on the battlefield, and both of his legs have been blown off. And it is time for us to tie a tourniquet around those stumps and stop the bleeding. Forget the fractured arm. Forget the wounds on his face. He can look pretty while he's alive. I don't want him to look pretty in a casket. First and foremost, stop the bleeding. Save the patient. Worry about the nonsense later. Because all of the other things are only issues and topics of discussion. What's not a topic of discussion is the salvation of this republic. What's not open for discussion is whether or not the patient should live. Our first and foremost duty, our obligation beyond all else, it supersedes every other discussion we can have about immigration, skin color, about whether or not you belong to this party or that party, whether you believe in this religion or no religion. What's first and foremost of only importance is that we save and salvage this republic. After that, we can have any discussion you want.
At length.
But I'm going to tell you this. This reminds me of my policy on the immigration issue. Seal the borders, verifiably. Lock that border down. Show me 1 year without penetration. We can have any damn discussion you want. But until we've achieved that goal, we have nothing further to talk about. And it is the same situation with our nation. Put all of your differences aside. Put aside all of your bias. Put aside all of your beliefs, whether correct or erroneous, whether misdirected or properly focused. I don't care. I don't care whether you hate the Muslims. I don't care if you hate the Jews. I don't care if you hate the Christians. I don't care if you hate the abortionists. I don't care if you hate the pro-lifers. I don't care if you hate the Democrats. I don't care if you hate the Republicans. I don't care. I care about one thing. And this is the one thing that, yes, all of America can and should and does agree upon. That we have a constitutional foundation, a baseline that protects the rights of the individual. First and foremost, that is the base. If we don't have that foundation, if we don't have our pillars set in concrete, if we don't have our foundation properly anchored, the house will come down. And I don't care what else you want to wrap around that. I'm telling you, if the foundation is not solidified, if it is not built on the bedrock of the rights of individuals, nothing else matters.
Who else have we got in the local community, Mike, that's helping to support that effort?
Our friends over at Ozark Mountain SelfReliance. Now, these are guys down on Mountain Home. They're on Route 62, and they're about a half a mile east of Walmart on Route 62. They have not only a bunch of self-reliant stuff out there, but, and by the way, they got a thing out there called the Sun Oven. I love this thing.
The sun oven.
Uh-huh. You never heard of one of these? It'll blow you away. It's a box, literally about half the size of your home oven. And it's got these panels that open up like a petal on a flower.
Right.
And it focuses sunlight into this box, and it's got a glass top to it. And you can broil in it. You can bake bread in it. And in the same amount of time you do it, winter and summer, by the way.
Wow.
It's like $75 or something. I mean, if you can get this in place of a grill. In fact, you can get this and replace your home oven. Literally.
We're talking go solar, man.
We're talking go solar, and something you can use and it has applicability every single day. Cut your electric bill. You'll pay for the darn thing in the matter of a year or two just on your electric bill for your stove.
Wow.
They
got freeze-dried food there. The stuff that lasts for like 10 years.
They do. They have 3 different brands. They have Mountain House, they have Noah's Pantry, and they have Wise Foods down there. And they're a seller of Baker Creek seeds. They've got all kinds of shortwave radios and stuff along the. Tell you something else they got. By the way, this is worthy. Just this alone should have you. I'm going to give you their phone number. Their website is Ozark MTN SelfReliance. We're in the process, by the way, of building them a new website. I never talk about what I do off the air, but that's what I do off the air. I build websites.
You're a computer geek?
Geek with a capital G, baby.
Smile when you say that.
I'm a geek with attitude. Most geeks are like, yes, I'm a geek. And I'm like, I'm a geek. Got something against it?
A geek with lots of testosterone.
You want to fight about it? Yes, I code.
What of it?
What about it? Ozark MTN SelfReliance.com. You know what they got down there? And this is hard stuff to find, so everybody should take this phone number and website down. It's 870-492-4030. They have the fish penicillins or the fish antibiotics that everybody's looking for.
That stuff's supposed to be the bomb.
It is the bomb. And they've got like 9 different, they've got amoxicillin, penicillin, they've got ones that are, and each one of these, what's that one that they give you for respiratory infections? It's, I can't think of it now. But they've got all the different variants of the penicillins.
Right.
Antibiotics, right? What is it? Something mycin.
Erythromycin.
Yeah, they've got all the mycins, all the cillins, right?
Right.
But this is dosed for humans. So, and you don't need a prescription for it. That's the kicker, folks, because just think about it. It's only for fish.
Right.
It's only for fish. Those watching the video are like, he's winking, he's winking.
You want your fish to be healthy.
Of course you do. Even when those fish have legs.
We have to have healthy fish.
But I'm going to tell you, folks, there's nothing better than not having to go drop, $75 when you know exactly what's wrong with you.
Although the doctors appreciate that.
Yeah. Disclaimer, it is only for fish. So, but that, and the other thing they have down there is essential oils. And, I'm no expert on it. My wife is very much into it, and she understands that a lot of the pharmaceutical stuff that we're taking today into our bodies is deleterious to us in so many different ways.
Some of it's bad, too.
And some of it's bad, too. Somebody buy him a dictionary. But these essential oils can replicate a lot of what's done to you pharmaceutically, but it doesn't have the chemical.
Some of your pharmaceutical stuff anyway is made from natural stuff. I mean, look at aspirin. It's made out of the bark of willow tree.
Yeah. Except it's made by Bayer, which was the company that created and gave us Zyklon B.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We'll be back in just a second.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is KBMV Birch Tree is the Ozark's best